Hello everybody, welcome back to Cubism. I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And we're picking up where we left off last video, which might have been yesterday, might have been 3 days ago. I'm not quite sure when I'm releasing this yet. But the important part is it's part 2 of our War of the Spark review. So in the first half, we talked about a handful of cards, maybe about a dozen, alongside the mechanics in the sets and how that proliferating stuff might interact with your standard cube. We're back with the back half of what ended up being a deeper set than I ever would have thought it would have been. But
especially when previews started.
Yeah. But that being said, before we get into the back half, I want to thank our sponsor, the Mana Base, your home base for all things Magic the Gathering. Make sure to check us out. They have from everything from Pauper, Austin's on a longer hiatus than we are. Cube, Standard, Arena, not Vintage. Don't go to Vintage. A bunch of stuff. Anyway, manabase.com. So, we're going to pick up this week with today with Ilreg. Is that the name of it? The Raise Boar?
I don't know, maybe Ilharg?
Ilharg sounds better. I've sold this card a lot in the past 2 weeks, and I just look up Raise Boar because I can never remember how to spell its first name, even though it isn't that hard. So, Ilharg the Raise Boar, that's what we're going to go with, is 3 red, 6/6 legendary creature Boar God, Trample. When it attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tap and attacking. Return that creature to your hand beginning of the next end step. And when it dies, you may put it, whenever it dies or is put into exile, you may put it third from the top of your library. Or owner's library, if it matters.
It's exciting, but it's kind of slow. It's no sneak attack.
Yeah, so I think the dream is, if I'm playing Sneak Attack or I'm playing Through the Breach or those kind of decks, like, I just get to play this boar now is another enabler of those, but that's normally it's not really going to fit in your deck, I think. It's going to kind of be outside of that, it's the problem cards you're looking for. Like, I don't think, like, if I'm in those decks, I think I'm normally in some sort of reanimatory,
basically unfair strategies. This is very fair.
Yeah, Ilharg is extremely fair. While being extremely cool, I think this card fits into the red-green monsters or red-green units deck better. It's just a stab monster. It's a 5-mana 6/6 trample that sneaks into play or gives something from your hand haste or a dash. That's the mechanic. Dash is something into play that could be anything from a Scourge Tribeholder to a Grizzlebrand, depending on what kind of deck you have. But
the black Raise Boar.
Yeah, absolutely. The black Ilharg the Raise Boar deck. But I think this card will most often fit into this red-green monsters deck, and not so often as much as I want to dream sneaking in the Emrakul deck. But I guess it fits well into the Tooth and Nail deck. Why not both? I can Tooth and Nail things, I can Ilharg things. So this card is a very interesting red card. You don't get a whole lot of those. That's not true. You get one interesting red card per set, but most of the time they're unplayable.
And usually it's randomy, coin flippy, disperse your things nonsense.
Yeah, and annihilate random permanents. Ilharg, I like that they shoehorned him in as, we need a red god, and Hazoret's not around, so we gotta make a boar god. Ilharg is an interesting enough card that I think I'm gonna try it, though I'm not gonna, hold my breath on it.
Well, 3 people wanted it in the last draft we did, so.
Well, I definitely bought one, so I guess I'm gonna try it.
We are gonna try it.
But, I don't know. Anyway, so, another red card, less interesting. In fact, there's 1,000 of this ability now. Krenko Tin Street Kingpin. 2 red for a 1/2 legendary creature Goblin. Whenever Krenko attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then create a number of 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens with power equal to... What is it? I'm not even reading this.
Yeah, it's powered.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
It was power.
Yeah, then create a number of 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. Yeah. that was a lot harder than it should have been. So it's a 3-mana 1/2, which is super unimpressive, but it attacks as a 2/3 and makes 2 1/1 goblins, very much like Handwear Garrison. But the next turn, you get 3 goblins, and then 4 goblins.
I guess worth mentioning, as opposed to all the other 3 drops that do similar things, the tokens don't attack. So they kind of just sit defensively.
Yeah, I guess so Handwear Garrison makes attacking humans. This one doesn't. This one leaves them.
I think Garrison also makes them untap. But,
doesn't Garrison make them attack?
I'm not going to bet either way because I feel like I'd lose.
Well, I should have done research. I'm gonna bet it does, but I might be wrong. Anyway.
I know the other ones like Legion Warboss does.
Yeah, Warboss and Rabble Master, Goblins are going in.
Nijila.
Yeah, all of them kind of make them attack with it. So Krenko I think at first glance, both Drew and I immediately wrote this card off as there's already infinite versions of this card. Is this card actually better than any of those versions? So, I think there's a discussion there. I think on raw stats alone, this card is better than most of them. So on Rabblemaster, Rabblemaster killing someone extremely fast.
That's assuming that the opponent has no response.
Yeah, assuming you left your own devices. Krenko is going to generate the most power and kill them the second fastest behind Rabblemaster, and then everybody else. But assuming your opponent interacts with it, it doesn't come into play and generate any value, and but it does have the benefit of it leaving the tokens behind, so they don't just suicide. Pros and cons. So this one it's more interesting. They gave us Legion Warboss not long ago. And then there's we've had Rabblemaster forever, we've had Henry Garrison for a long time, we got Najila not that long ago. So there's a lot of versions of this. Where do you rank this in all of them?
Honestly, since it doesn't prevent or give you immediate value, I'm probably saying it's 4th or 5th on the list. Bone Splitter, Rancor decks, notwithstanding.
Yeah, but if you have Bone Splitter, that's nice.
Or Grafted Wargear,
I haven't ran that card in a while. But, sorry, I'm just maybe backtracking here, checking what Henry Garrison does.
I had it in my sideboard, and I boarded it against someone.
So I might have cut Henry Garrison very recently, so it does make him tap into attacking.
Okay.
You think we would know that, anyway. This one doesn't generate immediate value, which is the reason why I cut Henry Garrison for Legion Warboss. Obviously, Legion Warboss does not attack at anywhere the speed Rabblemaster does, but not everybody can be Goblin Rabblemaster.
I have an open slot, so I'm running it.
Krenko's upfront stats are the weakest. Bad. But the ceiling is very high. And I think this card warrants a test regardless. It's not like we're drowning in red 3-drops. We're drowning in all red 3-drops that have similar abilities. You can just run the mono 3-mana make tokens deck.
It's kind of boring.
Which is kind of what I'm running. I was looking at a way to fit this card in my cube recently, and I was like, well, I'm not cutting Rabblemaster. I don't really want to cut Legion Warboss, but I can make that swap if I just want to test it. But I'm actually going to cut Pia Nalar. I do like Pia Nalar, but I don't like it enough to try to keep it in over try and crank it.
You run Rampaging Ferocitron?
I do run Rampaging Ferocitron. And then I have like another 3 in there that I'm probably embarrassingly forgetting. But the ceiling on Krenko is very high. Very fragile. Interacts with Rancor. I'm sure it's
probably not a
fine.
reason to run Rancor.
I guess both Drew and I also don't play Najila, because again we prefer the Rabblemaster, whatever. Even Pia Nalar gets the immediate token, which most of the time I'll take over the potential earnings of Henry Garrison and Najila.
At this point, it's less similar of a card, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Anyway, no more red cards. Brings us to Liliana, Dreadhorde General, face of the set, 4 black, legendary Planeswalker Liliana, 6 starting loyalty. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. That one's free. +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. -9, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. I get really good at reading cards, and I've had to read them 3 times. So we might have to try this a couple times. Anyway, Liliana, I'm very impressed with how it's tested. I guess I've only played in Constructed, but it felt better than I expected it to be. Many situations you're able to kind of slam this card and clear the way with the Barter and Blood ability that each player sacrifices 2. Feels incredibly hard to lose. Making free creatures, those creatures cast you in for free cards. If you ever get the emblem is insane.
No, it's not an emblem.
Ultimate is extremely good. Armageddon's them, so good.
Is it Cataclysm?
No, it's one of each. Oh, I guess a Cataclysm is them. That's a more accurate ability. But played it way better than I expected.
Well, it helps you diversify the black Planeswalker section, because some colors have an abundance, like white and green.
White is 1,000,000.
Black has 2 3-drops.
Yeah.
2 5-drops, and now this Liliana.
There are 3 5-drops.
3 5-drops?
Obnixil's the Black Oath or something.
Yeah.
Plus Obnixil's plus Liliana.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so 2 of the most powerful Planeswalkers in black are arguably the Liliana Vess. Or sorry, not Liliana Vess at all. Oh, hey, for Liliana Vess. It's another black 5-drop. Liliana the Veil and Liliana the Last Hope. most people play Veil. I think Veil this fits into more generic shell better with Liliana Last Hope with the milling yourself 2 and raise deading. It doesn't work as hard, I think. Or
that's Death Majesty.
No. There's
raise
Dead. Last Hope mills you 2, and then you get to raise that creature from your graveyard. Death Majesty mills somebody 2 and you make it 2 zombie.
Okay. I'm thinking of the first ability.
Yeah.
It's like
so
aggro hate.
Liliana, the Last Hope, a very good card to construct it. He's playing so a lot of play in standard, some amount of play in modern. I think translates a little worse to cube, but regardless, the 2 best Black Planeswalkers have been Liliana. And then you kind of play some amount of mid-range Black Planeswalkers, which you don't have to anymore because you can play this mid-range Black Planeswalker, which I think is leagues above the rest of them. Obviously, no Liliana the Veil, but very, very happy to see it regardless. Not a Black Elspeth Sun champion, but it's probably as close as you're going to get.
I'll get back to you on that one.
For now. The card's great. Sold out. Can't buy one for my cube yet, so I can't test it, which is a dagger. Massacre Girl. Speaking of cards you have to test, probably. 3 black. Legendary creature. Human assassin. A lot of legendary creatures in this part of it. Menace. 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Card very reminiscent of a handful of Hearthstone cards. This card would be insane in Hearthstone, but I'm not sure how good it is in Cube.
Well, within a very short window of time, we've gotten some black 5-drops that are playable, which is, we didn't have any options before. So now we got this one, and I think it might be edged out for me. Because I don't think the abilities, it's kind of like an aggro-hating ability, I guess.
Yeah, which isn't bad, but
if you got the worm at 6, right?
Oh yeah, you can
Massacre
play.
Worm?
You play Massacre Worm. Yeah, I guess
Massacre Girl, Massacre Worm.
it's good. It's good flavor. Yeah, Massacre Girl. It's interesting that if it kills one creature, it gives another creature -1/-1. If it kills 2 creatures at the same time, it gives all creatures -2/-2. So if assuming there's even a little bit one creature in play, or if there's a couple, as long as one's going to die, it's very easy to set up the chain of everybody dying. But so this card, I guess this card will just never be consistent, right? It'll be extremely good or very, very poor. It might just be a 5-mana 4/4 with no text.
Menace. It's got Menace.
Yeah, this card has maximum
So does Bontu.
instant value. Like Bontu, I guess, is an example. So Bontu is a better stat monster, I guess, better stat creature. That
will always get value if you want it to have value.
You can always get value if you wanted to. Obviously, it'll also peaks and valleys in terms of performance. Sometimes it'll interact really, really well with your board position. Sometimes it won't. You can cash in an extra permanent or 2 maybe for a card. I like the ceiling on Bontu. Well, I like the ceiling on Bontu more and the consistency of Bontu more. But the ceiling on Massacre Girl is insane. In the right deck and the right matchup, this card is a 5-mana wrath your board. But,
with a 4/4. So.
Yeah, with the leaves back of 4/4. Very, very powerful. So, I think both cards and other cards, I guess both cards, though I'm not trying to compare one to the other, but now that we, like Drew said, we have a kind of a healthy amount of black 5-drops, that if I'm picking between the two, that now I feel I have the option that I don't have to just auto-include any almost playable one, that I like Bontu more, has a lower ceiling, is more consistent. This one has a significantly higher ceiling, less consistent. Yeah, this card is interesting. I'm actually really happy this card exists. Again, I do like the reference, even though it isn't a reference at all, to the Hearthstone card. This effect is very, very powerful. In Hearthstone, you get to, I guess, creatures retain damage. So if it's a 4/4 and attack it with a 2/2, it's now a 4/2. So you can set up this ability much easier. Because it remembers over turns with magic.
No one plays Hearthstone anymore.
Well, no, now that Arena's out, Hearthstone's pretty Ripperinoed, so. Anyway, Mayhem Devil. 1 black, red, 3/3 Devil. Who knew? Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. We've gotten a slew of Rakdos cards lately, which is great for Rakdos, because it was one of the weaker guilds for a while. Now, it has a lot of cards. I don't know if all of them are good. A lot of them are Terminates.
There are a lot of cards with niche abilities, the creatures anyways.
Yeah.
They're all like
Terminates.
Hasty or Sacrificey or pay 1 to
Judith.
do damage.
Timeret. A big Murder King fan.
That one's an old one.
Ooh, I like Murder King. So Mayhem Devil is a 3-mana 3/3, nothing to write home about. Its ability, if you fit into like the Goblin bombardments, whatever kind of strategy, if you build stacks or whatever, this card kind of shoehorns into that very well. Interacts with fetch lands. Interacts with the opponent's fetch lands. I don't think this card's very good.
Hey, you put it on the list.
I did put it on the list.
It's an aristocracy type.
Yeah,
card,
I do
right?
think, if you support this kind of stuff at all, Mayhem Devil easily deserves a try.
I don't
want to say I'm the furthest away from that.
I'm the furthest away from that.
Drew's the furthest away. But if this card's really good, then you're probably already... this card probably is pretty obvious, but like it's in the even Bontu camp of like, well, I can play my stuff in the Mayhem Devil with Bontu and then draw cards, deal damage. Anyway, yeah. I think this card's very obvious if you're already kind of playing that kind of strategy. But pretty powerful for non-common, so pretty powerful ability, I guess. It's pretty cool. I don't know why I put this card on the list, but is card's pretty bad, so that's probably why. Ral Storm Conduit. 2 blue-red, legendary Planeswalker Ral, 4 starting loyalty. Whenever you cast a copy, or whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Ral Storm Conduit deals 1 damage to target opponent Planeswalker. +2, scry 2. That's not true at all. +2, scry 1. -2, copy your next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn. You may choose new targets for that copy.
You said it's like weak, which is true.
It's getting
but
better.
They also have just a lot of planeswalkers.
They do have a lot of planeswalkers. That's probably the best part about it.
So where does this rank up on the
like
planeswalkers?
you can play 1,000 Fire Ice effects and now 1,000 Rals.
And a deck.
I think this card's interesting. Let's say I'm playing in a powered environment where Dak is obviously king. But if you play support literally Storm, and again, specifically powered, this card is interesting. It kind of grape shots for free. In a deck that you can rip through your deck really, really quickly. It just has the static abilities is fairly good. But only in that specific instance. I think if I'm not playing that kind of cube.
So he's like a Tezzeret.
Yeah, he's like the red blue Tezzeret kind of. So like because I don't play that kind of strategy, I don't play Ral as Viceroy. That card is just a I don't know, medium monster. It's
Medium
like,
minus.
kind of. The card's fine. It does what you need to. Flame don't boost things. It draws you cards. It's very, very modest. This card is much more of a role player. So if this card fits into kind of what you're already doing, you like Storm a lot, maybe it's worth trying out. But only that kind of instance where I think this card is good. Otherwise, I think this card is actively bad. Sorry, not bad. It scrolls. It has a lot of loyalty. Right? It goes from 4 to 6 to 8. It scrolls up very fast. So yeah, I don't know if I don't know. Again, assuming I'm not trying to abuse the static ability, even Ral's Zarek is like a bad Flame Kung that can untap your monoliths and stuff. So I don't know quite where Ral fits, but its static ability is powerful. That's kind of what's on the list in the first place. Did not get Drew approved. This card has to be Drew approved. It's like maybe the most boring card. No, that's not true. The most boring card is on that we're going to talk about isn't even on the main list of cards we're talking about. Return to Nature. 1 green instant. Choose one. Destroy target artifact. Destroy target enchantment. Or remove or exile target card in the graveyard. It's just strictly better naturalize.
So
I can hate graveyards.
if I had this last cube draft,
Yeah.
I would have won that match because it had cut the ribbons in the graveyard. And I was just gonna die to this Exsanguinate. Just gonna got rid of it. But I run a few disenchants in my list, and I like running at least one main deck usually if I can afford to. And there's one I play the 1 green 3 per cast the cost for less one. And that one,
Yeah, I don't know the name of that one.
it's a little, it has something to do with returning in nature and.
It might be Back to Nature. No, Back to Nature is the Destroy All Enchantments.
But I didn't like when I read this card that it hates something from the graveyard. I hate tacked on graveyard removal, but I think I'm okay with this one. I don't want too much of it though.
Yeah, having the incidentally hating out archetype you have to work pretty hard to get is kind of a downer.
Yeah.
But this is the most playable I think Naturalize has ever been. I'm not sold on, let's say, Crossing Grip with Split Second. I don't think that makes it bumps it enough for me to want to play just a Naturalize effect. But this Naturalize effect isn't just a Naturalize effect, so I'm a fan. I'm not playing it yet because my list is a little smaller. I don't think I need it. I think I can find this affecting creatures most of the time. But I'm not playing it yet. But I think this card is actually very, very good. It's a very, very good common. Unfortunately, Simic hasn't been as lucky or as fortunate as Izzet. Not that Izzet's gotten a lot of help. It's got a bit. Where Simic's gotten 100 graces. That's pretty much it. But now it has Rollisk Apex Hybrid. 2 blue. That's not true at all. 2 green blue. So 5 mana. 4/5 flying trample legendary creature human mutant. Mutant is a good creature type.
I thought it was a beast until I looked at the art closer. I thought it was like a swooping bird type creature.
No, it's got wings and crab arms. 1 Rollisk Apex Hybrid enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. and when he dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. So it's just a 4-mana, 4/5 flying trample that buffs another creature when it comes into play, and maybe interacts with your board.
It's like a mini Gearhulk, green Gearhulk.
Yeah. At face value, I'm not super impressed with this card. I think this card will probably play out better than I think it will. It kind of fits into what blue-green decks kind of want to do. Has evasion, trample, buffs another guy. I don't know how relevant the proliferate's going to be. You would imagine is this going to buff whatever creature it buffed, but it's not always the case. But interact planeswalkers, who knows?
The problem is it's just straight up by any definition a mid-range card, and I just don't like putting in cards that, hey, this is for your mid-range deck, because any card can go in a mid-range deck.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't have much of I don't know how to feel with this card. I think this card you probably have to play it a bit just to get a feel for it. I know the proliferating part of this card will probably be more attractive to not cube formats, but
it's Simic.
It's Simic.
You can't really go wrong. Just
try
jam
anything.
a bunch of cards.
It'll
perform just as well as you pick the other 5 different cards.
What's his name? Sagumauler was a card that I played longer than
I like
Sagumauler. That card is the definition of a mid-range monster, so that's what it says, evasion. Hey, I don't know. It's mythic.
Go back to Simic Skyswallower.
Ooh, you can actual order Simic Skyswallower. Anyway, so Healy Sublime Artificer. Artificer? One hybrid blue-red.
Is it?
Yeah. 3 mana. 5 starting loyalty, legendary planeswalker Healy. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. And then -2, target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until the end of turn. Except it's an artifact in addition to its other types.
There's a lot of text on this. Most of it's not really relevant. Makes a 1/1 copy something.
Yeah, pretty much. It's summed up pretty easily. So Healy's interesting. It in the even bigger camp of is it Planeswalkers. So Healy, I think, is more interesting, especially than the aforementioned Ral, but similar, but good along the same vein, if that makes sense. Obviously, these heavy cantrip decks. Phoenix is a pretty big player in Standard right now. It's a very big player in Modern. It's harder to remove Young Pyromancer effect, or there's a lot of things that make this. But Young Pyromancer is probably what people play the most. That also could turn your bums into not bums.
Temporarily.
So this card
twice.
Yeah. So
only twice.
Without the copying effect, so this 3 mana hard to remove Young Pyromancer effect. That effect is almost appealing enough for me to want to play, especially if you're playing the is it spells camp of cards. It's again difficult to remove, 5 starting loyalty. You can kind of jam it. Turn 3, pretty safe, and then it just starts protecting itself. Working for you. And then it can also just happen to turn, if you have something relevant in play, a servo into something good. Or, again, if you're playing just, if you're playing a power environment, you can turn a not-so-good mana artifact into something else, a payoff card later on, like a Worm Coil or literally anything, a Memory Jar, a big mana artifact. It kind of does more in power environments. At face value, I like the card a lot just off that. I think this card might play worse obviously in a limited environment, in a cube environment, just because you can't guarantee your deck to have kind of streamlined of all these cantrips to make it kind of powerful enough.
I think we could sum it all up into is it's good in powered environments and very mediocre.
Is it cards get a lot better in powered environments?
In other environments.
But I guess along a similar vein of Young Pyromancer, it's difficult to have enough enablers like Young Pyromancer, it's a Healy, and those kind of cards, and then enough cantrips. To kind of
I'll have the same problem that all the other types of cast non-creature spells. You need a critical mass, and it's hard to do in limited.
You can't guarantee it, but again, I am not afraid to try any Izzet cards because it's kind of weak. So I'm going to be trying Saheeli out just for another kind of medium performer, just because that's kind of what all Izzet is medium performers. In my non-powered cube, and I think it scales pretty well in traditional powered cubes. So. Yeah, I think it's worth a try. I like the anime art a lot. It's nice. Drew's not going to play this card. Absolutely not. Drew's going to play more Fire Races. This card also kind of snuck its way on here. But Sarkhan the Masterless. 3 red. Legendary Planeswalker Sarkhan. 5 starting loyalty. Whenever a creature attacks you or a Planeswalker you control, each dragon you control deals 1 damage to that creature. +1 until end of turn. Each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon creature and gains haste or gains flying. Sorry. -3. Create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying.
So what? Best case scenario, you make a dragon, they attack you, forget it has an ability, wrath their board.
No, absolutely not. This card is just like, well, yeah, best case they attack a bunch of 1/1s for some reason. They play with themselves. But this card, more often than not, is just going to be 5 mana that makes a 4/4 flying dragon token that leaves Sarkhan behind that happens to threaten 8 damage the following turn. So it's 5 mana, you get a 4/4 flying dragon, and then you get the potential of Sarkhan turning into an additional 4/4 flying dragon, or your other planeswalkers turning into a 4/4 flying dragon.
Yes, it's not really a planeswalker in traditional sense. It's more of just a creature that comes along with an additional ability.
Kind of. It's kind of like the Varix Bladewing Broodmate Dragon-y kind of thing.
Broodmate
It's harder to remove because it's a planeswalker, but it doesn't have a lot of text outside of that. Brings a pal, and then hopefully sticks around to attack, which isn't hard, but I don't know where I want this card, admittedly. There's a lot of this kind of Sarkhan. It's better than the 5 mana Sarkhan from. I think it's probably better than the Fate Forged one, that Flame Slash or something, and then it starts animating to a dragon. I'm not sure if the Flame Slash might be better. It's hard to say.
It has immediate impact.
Yeah, because
you can play that to kill something.
You can play it and attack with it, right? It gains haste.
I'm not sure. I did run it at one point.
Yeah, I did too. Red Planeswalkers.
I don't believe it does for some reason, but maybe.
Alright. Well. Sarkhan the Masterless. I get red. Red is another color that doesn't have a lot of planeswalkers to play with. Obviously, there's Chandra, Torture, Defiance. A bunch of other stuff.
I like the 6 mana Chandra.
I like 6 mana Chandra too, but I wouldn't really bat an eye at trying out something else over it. But Sarkhan the Masterless isn't quite interesting enough. I'm not really looking for an aggressive planeswalker. I think if I wanted an aggressive one, I'd play Koth.
I think it's something to say that red particularly has a glut of 5s and nothing really at 6 other than Infernal Titans. So 6 mana Chandra has a lot going for it.
Like Sarkhan the Masterless is a good mid-range planeswalker. Like again, if I want aggro, I'm gonna play Koth. If I want, Chandra Torture Defiance is the best in a vacuum, and then you have kind of a lot of just mid-ranger options after that. So I'm not super excited about Sarkhan, but you can make your tribal planeswalker deck have a win condition. Use turn 1 dragons. Tolsmere, Friend to Wolves is the next card. 2 green white, 3/3 legendary creature Elf Scout. When Tolsmere enters battlefield, create Voja, Friend to Elves, a legendary 3/3 green and white wolf creature token. Whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life, and that creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. You know what? I didn't realize. I'm literally reading right now that it isn't a May. It has to fight something. That's interesting.
Is this another string of cards that just kind of made it on the list?
No, this is, again, Selesnya. So Selesnya isn't a weak color combination. There's a lot of options, but a lot of them are kind of just efficient small guys. And then either Sigarda or Mari's Wake or bigger, flashier effects. So Tolsmere is kind of the middle ground. It's not middle ground. It's a Selesnya Huntmaster of the Fells. 5 mana, 2 3/3s, gain 3 life, fight something. It does a lot of things for 5 mana.
For some reason, when you said Celestia Huntmaster of the Fells, I like it a little more now.
It interacts well with Huntmaster of the Fells. It interacts well with Master of the Wild Hunt. A lot of wolves, but
it's the 4-drop and higher deck that loses to everything.
So Tolsmere, again, 5 mana, make 2 3/3s, gain 3 life, maybe fight something. A lot of that's good. Would you rather have Tolsmere or something like Tristani Discordant?
I like Tristani a lot.
Tristani is a 5 mana, 1/5, make 2 1/1s, give your team
Anthem, right?
an Anthem your team +1/+1. So I also think I like that more. They're both, I imagine
easier to cast,
you can swap one with the other, and you're not gonna notice that much of a difference. But yeah, I don't know. This card's interesting. It's
a lot going on in the art.
I actually don't like the art.
But
That's one of my things I don't like about it. I really don't like how Tolsmere actually looks, to be honest. I like he's fighting all the Eternal guys. That's cool. But anyway, yeah, this card is I don't know. like we talked earlier about how white 5-drops are all either like Lara effects or make a bunch of guys effects, and then green 5-drops, where we have like also are like I don't know, Thragtusk effects or go wide effects, like Range Termites or Biogenic Ooze, or I guess you have what's his name, Gear Hulk, Acidic Slime, that kind of stuff. So green white is already kind of chock full of these value 5-drops. Or the value 5-drops are big idiots.
You're just talking everyone out of playing this card.
I'm talking to myself out of playing it, probably. But,
it's good.
just, yeah, on paper, I'm sure this card is fine. It's unfortunately in a fairly competitive guild. But, yeah, I think it just played Tristani over it. It's like a more recent card that's come out. But... Tomic, Distinguished Advocist. White, 2/3. Legendary creature, Human Advisor. Has flying, and lands on the battlefield, and land cards in your graveyard can't be the target of abilities your opponent controls. Your opponent can't play lands from his graveyard. Their graveyard. This card has a lot of irrelevant text. White, 2/3 flying.
This is a strictly worse Stormfront Pegasus. Just so you know.
Wow, you can't get wastelanded or strip mined.
Yeah, but I could cast it as opposed to this white.
This white part is kind of a dagger.
As someone who ran both Mesa Pegasus and Stormfront Pegasus not that long ago, not interested.
About Stormfront Charger and
Mistral Charger.
Mistral Charger, that's the one.
There we go.
Yeah, Tomic. I needed something. One of the two lines of text had to be relevant, and I'd be super into play it. But being hard to cast, I'm pretty out. If you support mono white a lot, you go as deep as Benalis Marshall, then the mana cost doesn't hurt you too much. It's fine. But outside of that, I don't support Crucible Worlds. If you're a big Crucible Worlds cube, then this card will be good against that stretch. Ugin the Ineffable. I'm going to assume that's how it's pronounced.
Sure.
6 generic mana. Legendary Planeswalker Ugin. Starts at 4 loyalty. Colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. +1. Exile top card of your library face down and look at it. That's what it tells you to look at it. Create a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token. When that creature leaves the battlefield, put that exiled card into your hand. -3. Destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. They just couldn't put manifest, obviously, because it's a keyword from a different set. But this card is manifest. It's the top card of your library.
Well, they sneak in heroic into the sets all the time.
Well, there's cards with heroic that don't have heroic too. Right. So this card manifests the top card of your library, and when that card dies, you draw it, and then destroys a permanent 1 or more colors. Again, another card that I faced when it got spoiled, I was super unimpressed with, but it's hard to disregard your colorless spells cost 2 less to cast. In Cube, not so much, but in Constructed, seems like there's a lot of room to grow there. But we're looking at Cube, not Constructed. So for 6 mana, you get +1, make a 2/2 that's going to draw you a card every turn, similar to maybe Liliana, makes a 2/2 draws you a card, which is very good, But 3 mana destroy permanent that's 1 or more colors is okay, and then the static ability. I think I want to say changes a lot based on your cube makeup, but I actually don't know if that's true. Because again, when you're kind of filling your deck with these kind of cards, you're getting into the realm of payoff cards, and Ugin isn't really that kind of card. But at the same time, it's you're not really gonna feel bad if it's jamming this for 6 and making you 2/2 every turn.
In all fairness to Ugin, there's not a lot at the 5 and 6 and 7 drop slot in colorless that are playable cards. Like some people cut off Wormcoil. Too powerful for them. And then you can... Ugin's, not bad, but it's kind of medium.
Yeah, I guess if you look at... let's say you look at the big boys. Look at Karn and other Ugin. They're both obviously... with Ugin...
8 mana Ugin?
8 mana Ugin. Why am I forgetting its name? 8 mana Ugin. Being the best. Karn being okay. Being good still. I don't want to downplay Karn. And then on the other side of the coin, you have 4 mana Karn, who is also just a good 4 mana card engine. So Ugin the Ineffable is kind of stuck in the middle. It's not really a card efficient machine like 4 mana Karn, and isn't really a big boy like 7 mana Karn and 8 mana Ugin. So yeah, I don't think I'd want to play this card over any of those 3 specifically. But again, I'm trying not to downplay the static ability, but maybe because of that, I'm overrating the card a bit. +1, make it 2/2, draw a card, can never be bad. And I guess that's why we're looking at this card altogether. But Big fan of Darken's art. It also has sweet anime art.
Oh,
That's
that's
good.
good. I like that art.
I
Oh.
like it. Big fan.
The
Yeah,
horns look
medium
like
fan.
they're transposed in the front of the card.
They're glowy. So we had the last couple cards. A couple of Vivien-related cards. So first we got Vivien, Champion of the Wilds. 2 in a green. Legendary Planeswalker Vivien. I don't know if I need to say that. I probably don't need to say that. 4 starting loyalty. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash. +1 until your next turn. Up to 1 target creature gains vigilance and reach. I thought it was or reach. That's good. It's good to know. It's good to know. -2. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom in any order. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at that card and cast it if it is a creature. So this card, more 3-mana planeswalkers. I'm very, very curious how much Wizards tested these 3-mana planeswalkers. There's so many of them, and we're 2 or 3 days after the set released, and they already see a lot of play across multiple formats. Most of them are blue. Blue's pretty good, but I wonder how much. We're gonna nerf their abilities, but we're gonna give them static abilities. That's the trade-off. So I wonder if
like immediate impact that you get regardless.
yeah. So I guess a lot of similar. I guess when you talk about this card, when you cast it, probably doesn't have an immediate impact. Assuming you play it on curve, it's not really going to do anything that turn. Giving something vigilance and reach is fine. It helps protect itself. But giving a creature flash probably doesn't do anything immediately. But the ones that are seeing play, I guess, like the ones that are seeing play in standard to vintage, have your opponent can only draw 1 card a turn, like those kind of abilities. That's again, don't do anything immediately, but they affect the course. They affect your opponent right away. So anyway, back to Vivien. Vivien has a lot of good going on with it. It's giving all the things stuff flash, very like Yeva, Nature's Herald. Good throwback when that card was playable.
I'm a big fan of Yeva, so I like Vivien a little more now.
That part is interesting. It's definitely fun. I'm not sure how good it is, but it's definitely going to keep your opponent on their toes. The plus ability is a way to defend itself, but mostly a way to activate its minus ability twice instead of only or 3 times even. Nope. I guess you can activate it twice regardless.
Well, it's a plus. So
More than 2 times.
A lot.
It's a 3-mana card that permanently affects how you can play the rest of the game and can draw you cards. So there's a lot of upside to this card. I'm not sure if I like it more.
Splashable.
It's extremely splashable. I'm not sure if I like it more than, let's say, 5-mana Vivien, because I really like how 5-mana Vivien's played out.
I like 3-mana Nisa.
Vivien's like a little boring, the 5-mana one, but it does everything you need it to. It naturalizes, plummets for some reason, draws you cards.
It's a bow. You gotta shoot.
And a lot of bows. We're going to talk about the bow in a second here. Where this Vivien, at a significantly cheaper price, doesn't do as much, but it still draws you cards, and then it still impacts the game. So it's the trade-off of at a better deal. Is this flash ability powerful enough? And I think it's probably pretty close to try out. Green does have a lot of planeswalkers. There's a slew of Garrux, there's a bunch of Viviens, there's a Freyleys, there's a lot of different
couple
options.
Nisas.
A lot of Nisas. I don't know how I found Nisas. So with so many options, I think I'm not. Other than Garruk Wildspeaker, I'm not hard sold on almost any other one. That I think Vivien Champion of Wilds is probably worth testing at some point. But I'm super poor, so I'm not gonna try it right away.
Now.
We're probably gonna try it later. I'd buy all the rest of the War of the Spark cards, the one that I'm more excited about, like Ilrag or whatever his name is, Ilharg. So Vivien, we're gonna try it out later.
Ilrag.
But Drew plays 3-mana Nisa, like you said. It's more different.
Yeah, it gives you more abilities to do different types of things.
Oh, it's good with your Rollisk deck, because you can proliferate all your counters. Anyway.
It's true.
I think Vivien's interesting. I'll be trying it out at some point. But big fan of the artist. Same person who did the Change Torch Defiance, stuff like that. Alright, brings us to the end. Vivian's Ark Bow. 1 in a green, legendary artifact. Tap X, and discard a card. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order.
I wonder how long in playtesting they tested this as discard a creature card.
Yeah, instead of just discard a card. Yeah,
that's what makes it playable.
When I first read this card, I just assumed it was discard a creature card. Thankfully, it isn't. You get to turn extra duds later in the game to not duds. I initially kind of wrote this card off as a Sentinel Flute. This card's significantly better than a Sentinel Flute. It's kind of the Birthing Pod that isn't a Birthing Pod that might just play better than Birthing Pod. Because Birthing Pod, I guess, is the obvious, easy comparison. You need to build a curve for. More powerful, but you need to have the right. You need to draft accordingly. Where I can't just like open a third pack and like, this will fit in my deck. Vivians Ark, on the other hand, I'm playing a lot of guys. This card's probably just gonna fit in my deck. So once it sticks in play, especially in certain matchups against control and stuff, that card's gonna be a nightmare. I can flash into stuff into play in a turn. The card has a ton of play.
It's a good card that fits in the green. Green just has a lot of creatures. Right?
Yeah,
so this card helps
yeah,
facilitate.
It's a great way to keep the kind of the quality card flow going on, stuff like that. A card I was playing with actually a lot of success for the past probably year has been Evolutionary Leap as a different survival of the fittest, I guess, because when I transitioned to Legacy Legal, I started playing. I played Leap before that, but I'm actually very happy with how that card performs. You turn kind of bums into better bums, or at least you turn them into a card. And Vivian's Ark does something very similar, but it can turn any card into, a good card. So I'm really excited to try the card out. I've played against it a little bit in Standard, and I've already been fairly impressed with how it's performed. Admittedly, I was not impressed at all, but I'm more than happy to be wrong about this card, especially in a color that doesn't get a lot of dynamic cards. They get a lot of like value guys, but now you can get value off of Vivian's Ark as an instant. That's great. That's it. I guess that's all the main cards I want to talk about. Some of them maybe shouldn't have been on the main roster, but we're talking about them anyway. Looking at you, Ral. But like we said at the end of the first episode, and we said a bit at the beginning of this episode, for a set that's looked not super promising out of the gate, obviously with the proliferate mechanic and things that interact and support planeswalkers, it's difficult to fit into a limited environment or cube environment specifically when we're picking and choosing what cards we want to play. But ultimately, a lot of the planeswalkers, which I guess I thought were going to be the easiest includes, there's not as many as I thought there'd be. But then the rest of the supporting cast ended up being better than I thought it'd be. Yeah. So less home runs than average sets, but a lot more I think a lot more potential than most sets, if that makes sense. So overall, very happy. But I guess there are a couple cards that were on the short list that we didn't make the main roster that we can talk about briefly. But Chandra, Fire Artisan, at face value, that card is just a bad Chandra Torch Defiance, which is correct. That doesn't make it bad. But like if you're already playing Chandra Torch Defiance,
might make it bad. I want might make diversity.
Narset Parter of the Veils, another card I've talked about. I mentioned a handful of times in this part of the episode. Very powerful effect. Well, I don't know if it translates exactly well to cube. It is. I don't think it's a Jace Bellerin replacement. It does like Searchers Canto you, twice, but then doesn't activate again.
The static ability doesn't really do anything.
Most of the time, not in cube, so can leave it by the side. Liliana's Triumph. That card's great. It's not on the list because it's just really boring. Yeah, if you play Diabolic Edict, you should play Liliana's Triumph. That card's just better.
Potentially better. What if you play no Lilianas?
It's still I guess then it isn't better. If you play no Lilianas, it's not better. And you need to edict yourself, it's not better. But most times, I imagine for 99% of the world, it's going to be better. Commence the Endgame is an interesting. I don't know, that's not true. It's not an interesting card. 6 mana Divination is not interesting, but it's uncounterable.
Instant Divination.
Yeah, it's uncounterable. It's going to make a big guy. It's not comparable, but not comparable to Torrential Gearhulk. It's a way to give the blue decks kind of I'm going to resolve. I'm going to have a threat. Draws me cards. It's kind of everything the blue decks want to do regardless. But it's not fun. But it's not flashy at all. What else we got? We got Eternal Taskmaster, which probably would have been playable 5 years ago when Black Creature's really bad. It's that 2 mana 2/3 attacks. You can pay 3 to raise that something.
Oh, it's like the shambling guy from Origins.
Yeah, that card's like super boring. Grim Initiate, 1 mana 1/1. First strike guy, nobody dies, make another guy, Like Aristocrats a lot. Why not? Grim Initiate. Teferi, Time Reveler. Extremely frustrating that they print another very good blue-white Planeswalker in the same standard format, which seems kind of bizarre. But it's still not as good as Teferi, 5-mana Teferi, so while good, isn't anywhere close to 5-mana Teferi. Tyrant Scorn, if you want Smother and Unsummon taped together, and an efficient Dimir spell, that's what you're looking at. The card is good, but Blue's recently kind of been taken over by... Dimir has been taken over by creatures, of all things. And then Kiora Behemoth Beckoner. This card I actually like a lot, and I'm actually going to be testing out of the gates. But is it anything, again, to necessarily write home about? So I'm sure that... I think the card will end up playing better than I think, which is why I'm going to test it initially.
Big fan of Ferocious.
yeah, it's a 3-mana, hard to remove, ramps you, can draw you cards. I want to say that I'm trying because I'm so impressed with how powerful I think this uncommon is, but the rarity shouldn't matter. Either way, card and I'm also excited about. But yeah, like I said, the set's been fairly deep with cards that we want to talk about. Cards that I think will be kind of a longer impact than I would have ever guessed. So very happy with the set overall. Set's selling insane at the store level. And we've sold out of all our pre-release kits. We've almost sold out of all our boxes. Like these Japanese boxes we got in, we sold out of 3 boxes in a day. Insane.
Any word on the polls?
No full Lilianas. So anyway, again, we'll thank Manabase, your home base for all things Magic the Gathering. They'll help us keep the lights on around here, literally. Give us this fancy trash can to hold my laptop on. That's good. But make sure to check them out for all things Magic the Gathering, from Cube to Standard, and things in between those things that I assume people play. I don't play Cube, so that's not... Anyway, that'll be it for today. I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll be back in less than a month.